BBC Hooniverse.
Doctor Who there, and that leads me fluently on to there's an area that you don't sort of you hear about, no pun intended. You hear about it in a sense of it's becoming more popular, the world of audiobooks, and I think that the when you hear the readers, if you get the right reader for the right story, it's cracking, and I think this matches really well. But what was it like narrating the audiobook for Doctor Who: The Beasts of Scar Hill?
Oh, I love that. Audiobooks, I actually do love them. They're very intense.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of concentration, but also if you have a love of that genre particularly, it makes those things come alive. I mean, I've loved Doctor Who since Tom Baker came and became my doctor, and Sarah Jane Smith, strangely, was his companion. You know, so I've loved Doctor Who. I've loved the world of it.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a sci-fi person than a fantasy person. You know what I mean? I'm not really into Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I really love science fiction. I love H.G. Wells, and I love, I like a world that looks like it might be strange and change and aliens and doing an audiobook means you can embody those characters. It requires everything that to me art is, which is play. Yeah. Which is creating all the different accents, different, and really allowing this. You have to be as engaged with the story as you want the audience to be, and hopefully it comes out really well. But it's quite intense, it takes a lot of concentration. There's just you and whoever's on the other side of on the desk, and it's just, I do love them. To use my voice in any way, just the voice. Like I do a lot of radio, I do a lot of dramas on the radio. That is one of my greatest joys, actually. Yeah.
And do you think what the hardest bit for this one was? Do you think it was harder? There's an element harder because these characters, like as in the Doctor and then Rose, have been on TV. Do you think it was harder for you to try and work out how to best represent those characters, but still make the audience feel like it's the same world as they've seen on TV?
Maybe. I mean, I think it was particularly that one that you're talking about is because I know those characters. I know how Christopher Eccleston approached the Doctor, and I know what Rose kind of embodied. So to me, I knew almost like their cadence or their rhythms that they had. And, Chris is very northern. There's there's elements to those characters that I'd already seen.
Yeah.
So to me, I just had to think about how would they react to things, and then hopefully create, the audio drama that matched their versions. Because each Doctor Who audiobook is different depending on who is the Doctor,
Yeah.
If you were doing a David Tennant one, or there was if you're doing a Paul McGann, they're all very different. They all have different ways of approaching the same character, which is what's so magical about Doctor Who, actually.
And I think that what you get with the audiobooks and then subsequently with the audio dramas, but you get, because there's not as much time constraint with you're not working out, you need to work out the title sequence and the credits in a book form more so than an audio drama. Do you think that that's what makes the audiobook like more enjoyable, because they've got more time to live in that world a lot longer than you would get on TV?
Maybe. I mean, I had this debate with people who do adaptations of novels, say, for instance, for the theatre, or, you have to use more, there's more description in a novel.
Yeah.
Because it's not visual medium. So you can do something very simply on television that you have to maybe use 3 or 4 sentences in an audiobook to describe that same thing. And that's what's so brilliant about how they're written, because the writers are amazing, whether it's like Ian Winterton or Tim Foley, their ability to create that world and use the right vocabulary. It's like music, you know. It's how they've written it. It really is people who really understand the world, and then therefore create books that are so exciting for the audience as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And keeping in the same bracket of universe, but what are the things that I would say that to I'm gonna assume my generation and one below and a bit above. I'm assuming I'm correct in that. I might be wrong.
I don't know.
I,
Anyway,
I don't
question.
know either. But I'll probably be right at some point. I never know anything. But what was it
All right.
like embodying and playing Geeta Chandra in the Sarah Jane Adventures?
Yeah, it's brilliant. One of my favorite jobs of all time, I think. She was just fabulous. The thing about Geeta is to play a character that's so innocent and had her mind taken over by many, many aliens, nearly every series. There's something quite magical about that. Playing, it's like literally a person who is so trusting, then therefore, of human beings
Yeah,
that she could just be, you know. And one of my favorites was Russ Abbott taking over my mind when he, you know, in that episode, that was just so magical.
yes,
I just loved her. I think she was brilliant. But the way that she was very caring, and her relationship to Sarah Jane as well was very touching,
yeah,
which meant that when we came to do that very wonderful thing that Russell wrote as the farewell to Sarah Jane, even though we hadn't really touched on those characters for years, it was so easy to embody what I felt about, not just about Sarah Jane, but also about Liz Sladen as well. I think she was one truly remarkable human being.
and I think that. And you mentioned there the Russ Abbott episode that the name escapes me what it's called, but I think it's one of the greatest episodes ever because I've seen it multiple different times. I remember half when she now had a coat on trying to leave and I couldn't leave because I was involved by it. I'd seen it 50 other times beforehand. So and it's one of those where you sort of feel that you embody it and you can sense it.
Mm.
But having a character like that in this sort of universe where only a selection of people really know what's going on. Do you think that that sort of helps to embody how the audience would probably feel if they didn't know something was happening but can see all these things occurring and not connecting the dots?
I think it's that what a great. It's like Doctor Who and all of its spin-offs actually they're great thrillers. They're just great thrillers. And the best thing about great thrillers is that it keeps you guessing right until the end. And that's what's so wonderful because they're like little mini thrillers.
Yeah.
And each one of them, whether you're 7 or 70, I just think there's something for everyone in the universe somewhere. You know what I mean? Whether you're in a Doctor Who or whether you're in a Torchwood or you're listening to a Big Finish audiobook or you're watching Sarah Jane, I think there's something for absolutely everyone who loves that genre actually.
Yeah.
But the great thriller is that you don't quite know what's going on and you want to see what happens, especially when you get a good cliffhanger as well, which we did a couple of cliffhanger ones.
Yeah.
And they're very, very evocative. One of my favorite ones was that one we did in a quarry. That was all very kind of. I just remember it all being very grey, and we were in a completely different time zone, and it was so like atmospheric. And sometimes when I think back to those, because quite a long time ago now, to Sarah Jane, there's so many memories I have of Geeta being involved in so many different ways in which it required me to approach my work as well. Whether it's an alien coming out of you being possessed or just being inside this beautiful scene with, lovely Angeli where she was upset or talking to, going across the road and having a go at Sarah about some mad thing. I think all of it was just so joyful. And Russell T Davies, just God bless him for giving me that role because it was just one of my all-time favourites.
And do you think, as an actor, that really embodied what you did, and you can showcase your different abilities? Say, for instance, obviously, if you've been taken over, so you have to play it in a different way than you would. Do you think that that's a good thing to showcase your ability as a variety actor?
Well, I wouldn't call myself a writer. I call myself an actor who came out with skills like that. You know, when if somebody asks you to really think about what you do and not just put you in one box. That's what we were talking about earlier. You know, I was up until that point, I was doing quite a lot of sitcom, you know, with Ben Elton and Rowan. But I'm actually a serious classical actress as well.
Yeah.
So to me, to be able to do a whole series where all of that you have to draw on your ability to think about the drama and the comedy.
Yeah.
Some of the best actors, I think, who can seamlessly, you know, flit between those two things. Which a lot of Doctor Who is actually. If you think of David Tennant or Chris Eccleston, or even the writing of like some of the like Bradley Walsh in the clown one that we did, it's that being able to not think of it in one terms, just play the reality of a situation, which is the other thing about sci-fi, is that it really requires you to really delve into the reality that maybe aliens exist, and you play that for absolute real, you know. That's a joy as well.
Yeah, and one of the other areas in TV Who that you've appeared in that is also in the category of excellent because it's a cracking story. What was it like playing a different character in the episode Smile? So in the main universe of Who.
Well, I was so happy to be asked to do that episode as well, because I was in Sarah Jane and it was so like successful and we did it for many years. I thought that I'll never get in Doctor Who now, because my character, I'm known for that one character. And actually, even when I was asked to play in that episode of Smile, which was Peter Capaldi's series, we went to Valencia to film that as well, which was amazing. Even then, you know, because we always get the people who have the forums, the Doctor Who forums, who are hiding around the corner, waiting for someone to appear and going, how come, maybe Geeta's in this one? Or maybe it's Geeta's relative. They were really concerned that was I Geeta and this was my new family? Was it someone related to Geeta? Had absolutely nothing to do with Geeta at all. But you can't get away from it. But I've got to say, that was a brilliant. The whole of what I filmed there was done in one Steadicam shot.
Yeah.
And it was very important. And it was before the music kicks in. So even though I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it's a wonderful episode because that also required, it's about these emoji bots who don't understand happiness. So when this family are going through grief, they have to hide it so well from these emoji bots. Otherwise, they would think there's something wrong and then kill everybody. It's a quite extraordinary thing to then have to smile and tell someone that someone died, whilst also being terrified that someone's going to find out that you're lying. Just that. I had to really dig very deep on that, and it's a wonderful thing, very challenging and brilliant, and a wonderful episode if you've not seen it.
And do you think that because you were well known for Togechi, do you think that there was more pressure on you to make sure that this character was unique in its own right, and to make sure that people can see that no matter what character any actor plays in the Whoniverse can appear and can play excellent characters in other areas?
Yeah, I didn't really think about it, because if you've got great writing, which is what that was written by Frank Cattle-Boyce, that particular series, actually, I think it was like series 10, Peter Capaldi's series, each one of those writers of that series was remarkable. Mark Gatiss, the Frank Cattle-Boyce. And if it's your work is done as an actor to create a character where the writing is so excellent. I didn't really have to think about it, because to me the world was different. You know, it was set in a different place. You know, you can very, very easily, I could have extrapolated how Geeta would have been, but it wasn't written for Geeta. It was written for that character in that particular episode. It's a completely different person, completely different character and completely person to portray. And it was, it was great.
And then now, a few years on since the incredible Sarah Jane Adventures, what was it like returning as Gita in the audio universe, which was equally as fantastic and deserves more. How do you think you developed the character to where the character would be now?
Oh, I loved it. We did when Rani Rules the World, and it was because Russell T Davis. Those people there keep calling him Russell T, like as if everyone knows he's called Russell T. He didn't. It took him quite a long time after after Elizabeth Sladen passed away, to do anything to do with Sarah Jane, because it was quite heartbreaking for all of us to do. So he didn't give permission for a big finish, but then he did, because her daughter plays Sarah Jane now. So he allowed us to do this Rani series, which I think is just brilliant, because she really was the successor who was going to run everything. You couldn't have really left it to Clive, or maybe you could have left it to Tommy, but I think she really was the glue, and had all the kind of the nous going on. So for us to come back and do that, we just like jumped into that as if it had been yesterday. And Tim Foley, who wrote the episode I was in, it was so brilliant what he wrote, because he wrote all of the comedy and he wrote all of her kind of strange quirks. At this wedding, we went to kind of this wedding, and it was just brilliant. But I loved it. I thought I would have liked to have done more of that. Hopefully, who knows? There might be more. You never know.
And I think because of now that we've got the conclusion to Sarah Jane's story, I think there is scope to bring the characters back in some way in the show. Do you think that if you got the opportunity to return for TV, do you think you would snap it?
Oh, in a heartbeat. Oh, I'd snap somebody's arm off for that. if Rani and Geeta and that family came back to do an episode of Doctor Who, absolutely, I would love that. Yeah. In fact, I think I might have mooted that to Russell on many occasions and said, because I was only in the first 5 minutes of Smile, that I think somebody owes me a whole guest ep. That'd be great. Anyway, I'm putting that out there in the universe and the universe.
Don't forget to subscribe to the official Tom Mason YouTube channel.